Town of Auburn,
Yes.
Town of Auburn School Building Committee, and it is December 11th, and it is 7 p.m. And to open the meeting, could we all please stand and salute the imaginary flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I see the Yon Shings is no longer there. Pile of rubble and out of the way. All right. No correspondence coming in. No audience participation, so we can get right to the meat of the issue. We have a couple of issues, and we'll have a report from the project management team on what we have to cover tonight. James?
If I could, I'll cover the invoices that we have first. We have invoice number 28486 from Flansburgh. This is for the start of their construction administration services in the amount of $3,250.
Okay.
I would make a motion that we process that for payment.
Motion has been made by Mr. Sampson and seconded by Mr. Miller that we pay Flansburgh's bill for, what was the price again? $3,250. Okay, and it's invoice number 0028486. All right, the motion's been made and seconded. Any questions or any comments on that? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, it's a vote.
We have application for payment number 1 from Argus Construction. This represents 7% project completion. It's primarily bonds and some building demolition. The amount is $58,068.75. I recommend that for payment.
I would make a motion that we process that for payment.
Mr. Who seconded it? Ron? Mr. Sampson has made a motion that we pay this bill, and Mr. Prouty has seconded that motion. Any comments, questions? Okay, all those in favor signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, that's a vote. Any other bills? That's it for the bills?
That's it for the bills.
Okay, that's it for the bills. Okay, next we're going to cover...
we have the issue of some unforeseen drainage at the edge of the Yongsheng lot. Chris Lawson from the URS has been doing some investigation at Mass Highway and has found some information that suggests that there was a drainage head wall there from the old Dunn's Pond before it was filled in for the fire station. It's continuing to look at that. We're going to do a little bit of investigative work, hopefully tomorrow, to try to figure out what the solution had been down there, which I believe is now apparently filled in. And we'll, I think the goal will be to somehow or other restore that solution properly. And that's the big issue with drainage. As far as progress on the project?
The building's down. The asbestos was removed first, and I believe he's loading it out and removing the foundations down to the appropriate levels.
He's gone. Everything's
He's gone.
He had big trucks in this afternoon.
They had the foundations all day today. It's gone. He did find some peat down on what appeared to be between the two old buildings that, I don't know if he talked to you about.
It's like down 2 feet.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like it's massive, and it doesn't look like it's over a big area either, so.
Well, that's the same stuff that we had underlying the site on the other side.
Yep,
Yep, anywhere from 6 inches to 2 feet
yep.
as it worked your way down the hill from behind the school.
Okay. So we have to do something with that drainage problem.
Yep, Chris will do some more investigation on it. That's really the big thing now. And then figure out what an appropriate solution is in conjunction with the site engineers, civil engineers.
Does that drainage area or that manhole or whatever it is, does it affect the design of the parking lot or the tennis courts or anything? Or
No,
is it
it's
out of
not,
the way?
it's not, no, it's at the edge of the parking, it's at the edge of the tennis courts, but it's part of a larger question as to how the drainage underneath the tennis courts works. And there may be some reduction of the drainage underneath the tennis court area being unnecessary, but there will be an increase in drainage from this
From
point
this
right
thing?
here. So the hope is that, you know, between those, there's
average out?
some sort of a balance, so.
I would think if everything was going this way, there would have to be some sort of pipe or something in there, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, that would explain why they built that,
In the first
like
place.
a secondary,
The head,
head wall almost, the
yep,
box.
Yep,
To get it into
So the
something.
question is, one, if the pipe is there, and two, if it was there, the flows probably didn't allow for all those solids to go, and over
Yep.
time, it just
Build up.
built up and it's
Yep.
clogged.
you wouldn't think that it would continue down Southwood Street, or it would show on here if it did?
They have on Southbridge Street, they show 2 outlets on each side of the bridge going in the stream. We examined it, we only found 1. So we don't know if they hooked the catch basin up on the high school side to the side of the fire station and discharged on that side of the
Yeah.
road. Because originally the drawings that Colony had, Highway Department showed two drains. So there's a lot of questions down there of exactly what was built and how it was
Sure.
built.
Yep.
And there is a catch basin in the fire station grass that really nobody knows why it's there. So we're trying to figure out if maybe the road at one time when it was there,
Yep.
and that might be one of those existing catch basins that they
Yep.
left.
Yep.
So this drawing is from what, 1904?
I don't know.
It says
Well-
beginning of 1904 layout.
Right, yeah.
So it has changed a little bit since 1904.
Right, this was the original one that the Mass Highway had.
Okay.
Yeah.
This isn't going to affect what he's doing this for?
No,
Okay.
because when he digs out for the drainage anyways, he's gonna bring the subgrade out, and go back in and dig
Yep.
out.
Yep.
The only thing we would have to make sure is that the means would be more likely to bring the water out as way it's shown, so it does not affect the retaining wall. So other than that, it's not gonna affect the winter work.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else about that we should be concerned about?
I got one question. If this drainage is fixed, is it gonna dump more water into the brook right now?
Yes.
Well, no.
I mean,
Well,
I-
theoretically,
Theoretically,
no.
no, it's the same amount.
It's the same amount, but the pipe's clogged.
Okay, so.
That's the key question. If we determine that it was working properly at one time, then it's grandfathered. If it wasn't, then the engineers have to figure out with Mass Highway how to handle that water
Okay.
to meet the new stormwater discharges.
I'm just thinking of when it does back up, when we did have that water that went onto the football field. Isn't there drainage underneath, around the track that?
When the
when that
water
actually- when
floods
actually
that
cleans
high,
up?
when the water floods that high, everything floods. That field is in a
Flood
floodplain.
zone. Yeah,
Right.
It's in a floodplain.
there's no way around
The
it.
drainage under the field isn't designed to take this kind of water.
Exactly.
It's just designed to take the water that's on the field off. That's all.
It went right down when we had that big flood before we used it. I mean, all that rubbish got stuck under the bridge. It just backed right across the
The
field.
bridge was really the issue.
Yeah.
And you've got pictures that
Right.
if that hadn't
Held
got
everything
everything
back.
jammed up.
It was like a beaver
It
dam.
would have cleared, sure.
And one of your point though is actually why we were thinking about perhaps the facility of these under drains under these courts would not be good, because in a condition like that, it would surcharge back up underneath the courts and float the courts. And there are no under drains underneath the tennis courts on the other side. So we were questioning, and as part of the bigger just sort of review of everything that's happening down here, why these under drains here are even necessary at all. Because on the other side of the brook, right over there, we don't have them. And we're at approximately the same elevation there. So, and we know that the worst case scenario here is that we got a full surcharge on whatever outflow. You remember, all that outflow just totally stopped. Which meant the water had to go somewhere further up.
But given where it is, it seems like having drainage under the tennis courts would be nice.
Not in a
I
surcharge,
don't think
though,
so.
remember.
No.
In a surcharge, you're going to start floating underneath this court.
Yep.
Floating that court. You're better off having this court be on its own, have the drainage be independent, either around the outside or down here.
See,
Okay.
the engineers can look at the history of the groundwater in that area, and they'll determine how close the groundwater is actually coming to the courts. And that ultimately will decide if it needs drainage or not.
Okay.
Well, there's certainly always large puddles on the Auburn Street end of it, and then all the way down towards the buildings.
See, a lot of that might have been from that structure being clogged. If that structure's correct, that water might just never occur again.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, that was.
And we're bringing that up.
Because it's-
Remember
Every
this.
spring.
Yeah, there's a depression in
There's a great
between
big
where
hole in
buildings
there.
were,
Right.
which filled up all the time.
Right.
Yep.
And the Holstrom building, the basement of it
Filled
pumped
up.
all the time.
Yeah.
And then it would.
So that might explain what's happening with that structure.
Yeah.
That structure might be bringing the water in there, and that area is acting as a retainage pond.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
because the pipe is clogged, which
Right.
is supposed to drain it into brook.
And the brook is basically, top of brook is top of invert. So it's hard for the water to work itself out.
Yep.
That invert should come up a little bit.
How many drains go into that brook in that short distance between Southbridge Street and Auburn Street? I mean, there's one that
We
comes,
have two.
Yeah.
yeah,
And there's a couple down behind the
They're
pizza
down
place.
further.
and there's
We have-
one across from the pizza.
The ones up top come across from Shaw's,
Yeah.
which drains the top of the hill
Hill,
on the
yeah.
other side.
Across the football field, under the football field.
Under the football field, across Shaw's,
Yeah.
up the hill. The other one, the stream,
The intermittent
is a
stream.
little bit down further. That same deal. That stream actually picks up off of 290 up there. Right, there's the old stream bed along beside that tanning salon thing up there.
Yeah,
Yep.
That gets into that whole mix too.
yeah,
There's a lot of drainage from the upside there that all comes down and ends up coming in to the brook on the head, through the head walls on the other side. Yeah, we have this 12-inch corrugated that Chris is now investigating. And remember, we abandoned stuff down here by the bridge that was totally silted in,
Yeah.
that formerly
Yep.
drained from the
Something.
school side.
Yeah,
Or it came
something,
from the
yeah.
school.
Okay.
Remember, that was the one that they thought was the 290 one,
Yeah,
but it
it
really
wasn't.
didn't. It really wasn't 290.
Yep.
Right.
Now, he can put his retaining wall in. What
Correct.
happens, let's say he puts the retaining wall in, which is what his plan is. What do we do with this water for the winter?
Ice
Well,
pond.
he'll have to make sure that we swale it. He'd probably set the grade up so that it would be able to spill out around, as it does now. But he'd have to put in a temporary swale around it to an extent.
How much water are we talking about? I mean, of just a small rainstorm? Or does it have to
This
be a
thing is,
Lulu?
it's like a washing machine size.
Yeah.
And when it really, if it rains hard,
Comes up out of there.
for
It's
20
full.
minutes, in
Yeah,
3 or 4 or
surge.
5 minutes of that 20 minutes,
It's full.
it will force its way right up out of it.
Wow.
I mean, just like a fountain.
So it's draining something. Good size.
It's gotta be the catch basins loading up and
Yes.
you just can't get rid of it.
Well, nothing we can do until we find out what's there.
No, no.
So, no sense talking about it anymore until we
So
find out what's there.
is increasing that catch basin, that something we should investigate too? I mean, it goes into a washing machine size thing. Should we be looking at maybe?
Well, that's not gonna dissipate it or drain it. You know, it's not
No,
gonna
but it would
be,
just give it more capacity though, right?
but the capacity is not the problem, really. It's the exit point.
Yeah.
See, what we were talking the other day with Conning is that we'd probably bring it down here somewhere and maybe deal with it in this area, or bring it back over here. But this, we have this area to do something with it.
Let's pipe it down to that area.
Pipe it
Yeah.
if it has to be treated with settling to settle out the solids. Because that way we know we can put the retaining wall.
And by that, you mean a settling structure.
Yeah, yes. Because you have to bring the total suspended solids down to a certain discharge limit.
Yep. But we need to know this by the time the weather breaks in the spring.
Yes.
Correct.
Yep. And it probably is going to be something that we need to go back to conservation with anyway, so,
Correct.
or at least there's a good chance.
We're probably going, we're going back there
Yep,
anyways. so.
exactly.
Especially if it's going to be discharged to the stream.
Right.
To explain it was grandfathered or explain it if it's not grandfathered.
Yep.
Well, it's there, it's going in the stream anyway, period. I mean, where else can it go?
Well, it depends if that pipe is there.
Yeah, but I mean, if it floods the area, it's still going in the stream. Just not going through the pipe.
Those, that logic doesn't,
They don't understand,
no, it's an engineer needs to explain it.
oh, the water's there, it's going somewhere, there's no place to go but the stream.
The other question that came up is the retaining wall. Did we figure out what we want to do with it? Or?
Yeah, I'm waiting for, Cullinan owes me, they sent an RFI, there was like 5 items on that RFI.
Yep.
The retaining wall was one of them. I
Yep.
talked to Dennis about that, basically to relay our conversation. You know, we just want to keep the fence at the top.
Right.
So he's going to give me some information, and I emailed him today, said I need that RFI responded to by the end of this week, so one way or another I was
Yep.
going to
Yep.
address it.
The issue here, this is about 4 feet higher than this. The retaining wall comes like so, goes up and goes back. So do we just want to slope this, or do we want to step it down with the fence up on top of it? It's just a matter of how it's going to look, and do they need to break the fence open to, you know? So we kind of thought it would look better step, frankly. You know?
Because they'd have to cut the bottom of the fence and, you know,
angle.
a factory bend is better than a
Yeah,
manual bend.
It just looks like,
Yeah, well, step it,
Yeah, that's what we're going to do.
no problem. Okay, so we're all set with that?
the other issue that came up here was when we went to cut the water line, the water department, one of us, you want to leave?
Yes.
The water department wanted us to go back into Southbridge Street to cut it
Cut
at
it
the
off,
main,
yeah.
which is typical, but then our intent here is to have water fountains here anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we cut it at the property line, then we'll deal with the water fountains in the spring.
Okay.
So,
Are you gonna send us another bill?
of course.
Yeah? Forget it.
Yeah.
Just like Verizon.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
think That's
That's
it
it?
for the site issues, I think.
okay. So we got the tile and we got the lockers left.
Does this drainage research and everything that you gentlemen have been talking about, is this something new that's going to be added expense to the present budget?
It is, it's a new wrinkle on an old problem. And quite frankly, at the moment, we don't know exactly what it's going to be. It depends on how much we need to do to mitigate it. That's why we were in Bill's office the other day, you know, brainstorming about some of the deletions that we do. We know at the very least, we have to make this box a formal structure, which could be $5,000. What we have to do beyond that is a function of what we end up finding. So yes, there will be a cost
Okay.
associated with it, but how it balances out, we're not entirely sure at the moment. But
We have a contingency fee built into this last part, right?
there is a
Okay. 5%
contingency in construction and a 5% contingency on the owners.
Okay, so
Yeah,
there's
but that was a contingency built in before we knew we had a new problem.
No,
Yes,
but-
yeah.
Yeah, but still, we have the 10% contingency.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, no, but,
Okay,
I mean, it will, there's a fresh set of eyes looking at the entire situation. Let's put it that way.
The good part of the contingency is that the building is down, there's no more asbestos.
Yeah.
So,
That's what I said to my wife
Yeah.
before we left the house.
yeah,
When I seen the whole building was down
Yeah.
and they were working on a foundation, I
yeah,
said,
so,
we must be beyond asbestos.
beyond the asbestos,
yeah.
yeah. Well,
yep.
you didn't find much in there when you examined it
No,
before anyway.
exactly
Yeah.
what we found is what they
What they
took
took
out.
out, yeah, so we
Yep.
weren't surprised at all.
Yep.
Now, you want to deal with the tiles or the lockers now?
Tiles.
Tiles? Okay.
The tile, we asked for bids to replace the cracked tile and regrout some lines coming across the cafeteria, and then to put a flexible joint in the ladies' room. And the low bidder was Kessler and Moss at $3,117.
Okay, that sounds very reasonable.
I would make the motion that we
Pay 'em?
issue a purchase order, well, get them to do it first, and then issue a purchase order to Kessler and Moss for $3,117 for the work to be done during
February?
the February vacation.
I'd second that.
All right, motion has been made by Mr. Ringard and seconded by Mr. Sampson that we have a work order cut, purchase order cut to Kessler and Moss to repair the cracks that we had in the high school cafeteria and ladies' room. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, they're gonna put down some kind of a fracture membrane and then new tiles, okay. Everybody, no questions or comments? Everybody in favor, please raise your hand. Everybody opposed? Okay, that's a vote. We'll send them a purchase order,
Do you
okay?
want me to talk with Jeannie tomorrow
Jeez,
about?
could you?
Yeah,
That'd be great.
so I'll.
Yeah,
get that
please,
off.
yeah, Mr. Sampson. Okay, and then we have a letter that we're sending to the Eastern Regional Manager of Penco Products. You don't have to edit it, Joan, they wrote it, they would make me sign it. And there's no flames coming out the
All
sides.
right, all right.
Okay,
It
so,
was a comma pickup, though.
yeah,
Yep. We get slows every once in a while.
okay, so,
Basically, what it's saying is that the test repair that they made,
it's inadequate.
yeah, inconsistent is probably the better word. And so we told them that we want them to pull the lockers apart, lay them down, put the new floors in, put them back together, and confirm that all the doors are aligned, and we don't expect that there would be any cost to us.
Okay, yeah, right.
The second part of it is that it addresses their contention that there was evidence of overloading or abuse,
Yeah.
and basically saying that that is not our feeling of the condition there. I mean,
Okay. So, you're gonna email me the text, I'll put it on a
Yep.
letterhead, and we'll put a stamp on the little devil, and we'll ship it to them. All right, anything else we need?
And what does that mean as far as time? Nobody really knows?
Nobody knows at this point, I guess. They're-
Well, the other part of this is we're saying that no cost. We
Yeah,
intended
I-
it to be at no cost.
I wrote that down, at no
Um,
cost, but this letter is just going out so they can agree or disagree and.
Correct.
Realistically, this is gonna have to be done on
When there's
either
nobody there,
either a
like a
vacation
summer-
or a summer
or a summer.
vacation, probably summer
Yeah,
vacation.
because to yank them all down and do it over, it's not gonna take a week.
No,
So it'll have to be done when the building is
And what's the-
devoid of students.
What's the next step if they reject that?
we're dealing right now with the regional manager. I think we wanna go, and we know who it is that we need to get to his boss, and then the corporate office too, so we just
So that it's a process.
keep
Yeah.
pressing it, yeah. Keep
Well, it's
pushing.
like the tiles on the floor.
Yeah,
We've known there've been cracks since, what, a week after we opened?
yeah.
So they're being repaired now. We haven't had too many problems in there.
Well, are any of the kids not being able to use their lockers, or are they still using them?
There's still.
I mean,
still
I'm
using
hearing
them.
that the doors can't some of them don't lock. Is that correct?
No, I'm not hearing that. I know that sometimes the doors they won't line up, and they have to
Push them.
make an adjustment.
Which is really a function of this.
And it's the whole thing with that
Slope.
bottom piece not
Right.
being.
All right, so, but
secure.
there aren't any kids in there that don't have lockers
No,
available?
they all have the lockers,
Okay.
and they're all using them.
Okay.
If anything, well, now the lockers are a little bit bigger, because the bottoms are pushed down.
You got extra few cubic inches, yeah.
Nice half.
And they ring, it's a nice sound too, a nice tinny sound. Okay, so, anything else we need to do? Then, I would say we did it again, before 8.
Set a meeting?
Set a meeting for
Next year.
next year, yeah.
We say, I believe we said January 8th.
January 8th sounds good to me.
Oh, may have somebody call us.
Yeah, because I was gonna be down there.
See what Ray would know about that spot.
Muddy the water.
Well, Tommy Vokes told me about it.
Well, Tommy would know because his
Yeah.
uncle
Owned
owned
it, yeah.
that building
Yeah.
at one time, but it was long after this plan when that was a wooden garage.
Yeah, I know it.
But it shows the beginning of the problem.
Yeah.
It shows the sluiceway from what was a shoddy mill,
Yeah.
where the first fire station was built, but the first fire station was at a much lower elevation than that site is now. And there was drainage on this side of the fire station. If I can remember, there was a big catch basin there.
That might be the
That
one in
must
the
have gone,
grass.
that must be the one under the grass, because now it would be, they would have filled over it by probably 10 feet.
Yeah, that catch basin
that
is
site.
really
Yeah,
deep.
Yeah. But it shows the old bridge and it shows the old sluiceway. But all that was left in the 40s was a concrete channel beside where Tommy's uncle was. I don't know what happened after it went through the channel. There must have been drainage out there in the open of some sort, or else they just let it flood over, find its way to the flood. But the other side was much lower.
Well, of course, they filled the whole pond in, so, to
Yeah.
make them all, so we can see how much fill went in
The
there.
question is, did they fill that in properly?
Did they do anything, did they do anything for
Well,
it?
that is a concrete pipe, so it's
Yeah.
where it goes and what's it attached to is what we're trying to figure out.
It's the current one, yeah.
Well, didn't we send the camera into one of the pipes through there?
That was the stream. We sent the camera down the stream and down the
Is that
big,
an option here? I mean, that was cheap.
there's no room.
No room for it?
No, there might be on the, going up.
How big?
Well, and actually what we could do too is go through the catch basin on the fire yard, fire
Come
station,
down.
and come down to it
This is big.
and see if it goes down, the sand goes up. Just,
Must mean, you know, the
that might be the best option at the end of the day.
If we have to, yeah.
Yeah, he was relatively cheap.
Because then we could see the inverts coming into that pipe that get dumped
This
in.
is Auburn Street here.
We could use some dye too.
Yeah. so
Yeah.
I was just wondering about that.
I got dye tablets too.
Yeah.
So that's the new-
Okay, well,
We did.
nothing else before us, we can entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mr. Sampson, seconded by Mr. Miller, all those in favor, signify by raising your hand. Hey, we even didn't spend a lot of